Wow, what a draft. NFL draft is finally over, man. It takes forever to get here, and before you know it, you blink your eye and the weekend kind of blurs by. And then we're on to mock drafts and rookie drafts and everything else that has to do with Dynasty. What's up, everyone? Welcome and thanks for joining us. Welcome to Elite Fantasy Nation. I'm your host, Matt Dennis. You can follow me at Fantasy Matt EFN. Obviously, that's Pat Wendelken. You can follow him at CityStars136. Hit the like and subscribe at the bottom. I'm going to say this early because I always forget at the very beginning. But what's up, Pat? How's the weekend, man?
Good. Flies by like always. A lot of action, full sports. Draft basketball for me with the Knicks and Rangers. So I've been all over everything.
Yeah. Fuck basketball and fuck hockey. Who cares? This is NFL, man. We need to start to get you on the NFL bandwagon. So
back in
did
it.
you guys? Yeah. Did you guys have any like parties or anything, or just people kind of randomly coming over?
Randoms coming over, hanging out. It's pretty solid, easy, mellow weekend. Well, nothing's ever really mellow, but it was flowing and flew by like usual. Back to work Monday. So
yeah. No, I hear you, man. What is it? Thursday was on with South Harmon boys. So Mike had me on Thursday night for day one, which is round one.
I peeped you guys. I jumped in.
Yeah, dude, it was fun. It was fun. My first live draft or live kind of like live post, whatever. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. It's weird to kind of be on the other side too, not to be the one obviously hosting and talking the most, and kind of just kicking back and relaxing. There's 7 of us on for night one. So it's mostly the South Harmon guys minus Adam. Adam had a prior commitment with BDGE. And then day 2, I think there's like 5 of us day 2. And Adam came back on for day 2. So it was kind of killer. We definitely were sloppy drunk by the time night 1, about halfway through. So that got a little interesting. I don't remember that many of the picks towards the end, but whatever. It was good, man. It was fun. So if you guys haven't checked it out, check out their feed. They gave us some props too. They called us out a couple of times and allowed me to kind of like use that opportunity to kind of throw down our Elite Fantasy Nation podcast feed. So hopefully we get some transition from them. Mike was a little offended that he hadn't been invited onto the podcast. So I extended the offer to Mike, Fizzle, and also Adam. So we're going to try to see if we can get either Mike and Fizzle on this weekend. I know Adam's got a lot of or this week I should say. Adam's got a lot more engagements and kind of commitments. So we'll see. Plus he's coming off a long weekend in New York City. He was there for most of the week for the draft. So he said he might need some recovery time before he gets on, but we'll get Adam on from South Harmon soon enough. But in the meantime, I'll start talking to Mike and Fizzle and seeing if we can get them maybe this week sometime or early in the weekend. So it'll be fun, man.
Good.
He was giving me shit. And I was like, look, dude, Pat's wanted to meet you for a while and start talking shit about the league. So I was like, he's been ready. You guys are welcome anytime. So he's kind of giving me a little shit. So since I was one of the people that was not on their podcast or normal on their podcast it was me and another lady, or another lady, I should say. So it was fun.
That's cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so today we figured we'd just kind of go through. I know all the analysts are kind of jumping on it and doing their own spiel. But when I go through and talk about, like post-draft, we'll talk about, like big surprises that we saw. We'll talk about risers and fallers, and kind of like take it from there from a fantasy or dynasty perspective, specifically dynasty, because a lot of people are doing rookie drafts, starting. I've already started 2 of them yesterday, and I've got, I think, 5 more starting this week. So yeah, it'll start to ramp up pretty quickly. So why don't you, in the meantime, Pat, take us through the news?
All right. Well, I got one that just came in literally as we were talking. Michael Gallup plans to sign with the Raiders 1 year, $3 million. Not too bad. A little something different that just literally popped in.
Yeah, they just don't really have a quarterback, but that's all right.
Yeah, but hey, you get some money and get out of Dallas. So I mean, hey, I guess maybe anything's better than being down there.
For sure.
Well, the one person that would love to go back to Dallas and is going back to Dallas, Mr. Zeke Elliott, is back. 1 year with a max value of $3 million. So there you go. One goes away for 3, one comes in for 3. So
yeah, what do you think about that one, Zeke?
You can't expect what the old Zeke was. I mean, people are pumped, but I'm like, it's a little different Zeke. I don't think he's gonna be what he was, but I think it's cool. Maybe he'll feel better back at home. But he'd be splitting a lot more carries now in the backfield. It looks like it's gonna be a split backfield between like the 3 of them. So
yeah,
it should be interesting.
In Dynasty, I think you could probably hold on to him. Maybe get a couple of maybe a couple of games here and there from him, but obviously, like, I wouldn't rely on him at all. But definitely don't drop him, because you just never know, especially in best ball. He's probably like his probably greatest asset is in best ball, actually. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Because he could pop up that 1 or 2 games, like you said, and there's your
and
value.
that's what he did last year. He popped up, I think, 2 or 3, and then he pretty much like kind of slowed down quite a bit. So
Yes, sir. On a different note, Tank Dell was involved in a kind of like a shooting in Sanford, Florida. A 16-year-old underage minor had a gun, got into an altercation, pulled it out, shot into a crowd. It looks like he took hit about 10 people, and they were all minorly
yeah, it's
injured
crazy.
below the waist. So I mean, but now he's charged with a felony and a lot of other good stuff. So he'll be going away. Glad Tank's good. He's back in Houston, they said, and that's it. He's
Yeah, they
recovering.
said it was a
Should be
minor. They said it
fine.
was a minor injury. But yeah, I mean, you just
Right.
never know. That's crazy, dude.
So it's crazy. Wrong place, wrong time. Like we hear it time after again, like stupid things, but it's not you, it's everyone else around you that you just never know. So,
Yep.
so that sucked. And then I guess one of the other the big one is Mr. Travis Kelce signs 2 years, $34.25 million deal, 17
Extension.
million fully,
Yep.
yeah, fully 17 million fully guaranteed this year and most of next year. So he's happy. He's the highest paid tight end, I believe, currently in the
Yeah, I
NFL.
mean, there goes the conversation that he's going to retire. At the end of obviously he's coming back. He's already said he's coming back, but I mean, even people anticipated that he'd come back for a year and then he would bounce out. But obviously, signing a 2-year contract, he's going to try to push it as much as he can. They drafted a tight end too in the later rounds, so it'd be interesting to see. Are they going to continue to have him be the primary tight end in that backfield, or not the backfield, but tight end for the team, or are they going to maybe start to transition Jared Wiley? So he went in the 4th round, pretty much like the second to last pick in the 4th round out of TCU, tight end that they picked up. So so it'll be interesting. He's supposed to have a good prospect, Wiley. So again, that happened right before obviously the extension happened. So there's a lot of talks of like everybody picking up Wiley because you just never knew how long Travis Kelce's gonna be around. But I could easily see them kind of like sharing. It's Travis Kelce's not going to share the workload, but maybe they ramp him down a little bit and give Wiley kind of like slowly work him into the lineup and also into the offense.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's gonna be some new faces over in there in Kansas City, as you already know what the future holds. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I like to see some new faces, see what Mahomes can stir up and create with some new people. New toys in the sandbox for him.
I mean, he could have no toys and he could still win a championship. So you give him a
true.
couple of new toys, and we'll talk about one of them here in a little bit as far as like a dynasty riser. But yeah, you give him one new toy, and it's all he needs, just a little car to go. So
he's that guy.
Hell yeah, man. So that being said, let's jump in. Like I said, kind of break it down. We'll do post NFL draft. We'll talk about the surprises first. There's only a few just things and nuggets that we kind of thought were I don't think there's a lot of surprises. You kind of mentioned one, which you can talk about how many trades there were, lack of trades.
Yeah,
so I think that was a surprise too. But let's jump in. Why don't you kind of hit a couple of those and then add on your trades, and then I can finish up with a couple of other thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking before we just got on, the Michael Penix going.
Dude, that was nuts, man.
Dude, I mean, when I heard that, when they called it, I was like, I scratched my head. I looked at Isaiah. I'm like, my son, I'm like, what? He's like, did they just sign Kirk Chainz? I'm like, yes, sir, they just did. And there's a 13-year-old saying that. I'm like, listen,
dude,
I'm pretty sure he wasn't even
signed,
notified. You know what I mean? Like,
4-year contract, $180 million total with $100 million guaranteed. So that's not just even signed. That's like they gave him the bag.
Yeah, dude, they dropped a major bag on him for what is after coming off his injury, also, mind you.
Yeah,
so it's like
Achilles,
Achilles. And they were talking about today. I was listening to ESPN Radio in a couple places over here in New York, and they were saying like, these people in this office are just like out of their mind. Like all these people, all the front end office doing this, and like now they're like, well, now they want to save their jobs, so they're doing something else wild. I think they have no idea what they're doing because Belichick was the one that should have been there, and Belichick would have never have done what would have happened. You know what I mean? The whole thing. They were just explaining how dysfunctional this organization truly looks and is.
The irony behind it is Ryan Pace, who used to be with the Chicago Bears when they drafted. He was a previous regime when they drafted Fields initially, and they had with the Red Rocket. Oh my God, I'm blanking.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, they had Andy Dalton. They just signed him to like a 2 or 3 year contract. It was like 1 year. It was like kind of like basically a 1 year contract, but it was like 3 years total, I think. And then they traded up to draft Justin Fields. And Ryan Pace was the GM at the time that did all that. So It's kind of like
He's
I was
back,
listening to
back
I was
at
listen,
it.
exactly. I was listening to a Chicago thing, and they're like literally like this is exactly what Ryan Pace did to the Bears, 4 years ago, 3 or 4, whatever it was, 5 years ago. They're like, it's kind of crazy that like he goes to Atlanta does the same thing. I've also heard mixed reviews though because they've been struggling to find their franchise quarterback, for a little bit now. They've obviously gone through a couple of different iterations of trying different quarterbacks and that not working out. So from what I heard, this is them kind of double dipping to make sure that they at least have someone in the waiting after Cousins. They decide to move on from him, that they at least have somebody.
Right.
The crazy thing about that though is Michael Penix is also the oldest quarterback in this draft class. So if you have him
Correct.
he's already 23. So if you have
Yeah.
him sit for 2 years, he'll be 25. Sit for 4, he'll be 27. You're gonna start like a 25 to 27-year-old quarterback as like a first year starter. So that's, I think, one of the bigger parts of the head scratching part of it was not only they drafted somebody at overall 8, but also who they drafted and how old that prospect was in comparison to like where they're at. So another
Agreed.
funny
Yeah,
meme,
man.
another funny meme that I saw was, and then we can go on to the next. We can kind of go down the list. Another funny meme that I saw was before he even takes one snap, Kirk Cousins in the Atlanta Falcons offense, he already got his backup sitting out, and they've already drafted his backup.
Well,
His successor,
right.
I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how they're looking at it. I guess you look at it as like he's gonna be there. They plan on Kurt for 2 years, really, right? I guess, and then put him in. I mean, it's kind of like
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
It's got to be at least 2
else.
years. It's got to be at least 2 years because you got to figure $100 million, divide that by 2. That's $50 million a year. Then they can
Correct.
get out of it year 3, and they don't own anything. So they'll probably do that. Chalk off the $100 million for 2 years. But I mean, who knows? Like, Kirk Cousins cannot be the same player. He could have another injury. He could have. I mean,
I know.
You see people with Achilles, and like they come back, and next thing you know, it's a quad or it's something else, and they're down. Michael Penix could be a starter before you know it, and that offense could be pretty awesome. But
They were saying that like they're not going to be in this position again. They're saying they're
well, that's what I'm saying.
Like, we're not going to be a top 10 team anymore, and Kurt's a 2-year rental, so they just snag their quarterback. I mean, that's the way it looks. But they snagged the oldest quarterback, and I don't know. Listen, I guess we got to see. I mean, this is the same team that drafted a tight end. What, number 6, right? Was it a couple years ago?
I mean, tight end, wide receiver. They've had all these running
Yeah.
backs. They've got all these first round picks in offense, and
Hey.
they haven't been able to make any of it work out so far. So it's been kind of interesting. So maybe this is the year. You never know.
Yeah. So in the continue what we're kind of going off with this. 6 quarterbacks taken in round 1 ties an NFL record, and that was one of them right there.
Yeah, that was nuts. And actually, Bo Nix was the last one at what was it, 15?
Yeah,
I think.
Bo Nix was 12 going to the Broncos.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, all the numbers are like so many things.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, man.
Bo Nix was 12. Yeah. Yep. Crazy.
Can I ask you this? Besides Caleb, because I know you're super pumped with your man, who are you looking forward to see out of the other quarterbacks besides yours the most?
So I'll say JJ, I think, is going to be big. I think JJ's got the opportunity. So like there's talks that I've heard that both Jaden Daniels and JJ could potentially sit for the first year. You got Jacoby Brissett in Washington. Now, whether this actually comes to fruition, they're saying that they have the ability, the way the structure is. So like you've got Jacoby Washington or Jacoby
Brissett.
Brissett. Thank you. I said a second ago. Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Myers is a lawyer over here, I hear.
Yeah. So you got him in Washington, and he's proven, when he was in Cleveland, that he can be a starter. He was also in New England previously as well. And then so he could sit for a year, or maybe it's one of those things where they slowly work him in, and maybe it's like at the break when they get to, let's just say whatever their off week is, their bye week. Maybe when they come back, they'll switch it over. But I think Jaden and JJ had the best opportunities off the rip. Initially I was like, damn, poor Drake May. He's going to an offense that literally has no weapons. But they came back and actually surprised me. And, by drafting New England, they drafted 2 wide receivers that are pretty high up as far as like conversations. We're going to talk about them here in a minute. But Jalen Polk in the second round and Javon Baker in the 4th round. So
yes, sir.
They immediately gave him weapons. So, I mean, that made me feel a lot better, like kind of as the draft kind of progressed and started to go with Drake May's ability. But I would say you got Caleb, but I think you could easily see Jaden Daniels being crazy in fantasy for the first year. And I like JJ because of the fact that he's got the other JJ. So I think those three are probably the top three, but I wouldn't be surprised if Drake May pops up as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree. I'm excited. I'm excited, dude. This is all new year, bro. This is what we've been waiting for again.
So out of those three quarterbacks, the first year, who do you think is going to be the best rookie year?
Who's set to have the most success? I want to see what JJ can do down there. I mean, with the hype coming out of Michigan and everything else, and Justin Jefferson's there. I want to see how he reacts now. Kind of like, what is he gonna do? Because that's kind of like big. That's gonna be one of the big wide receivers that's gonna be coming on the market. Like, see how that goes, dude. I kind of actually, I know it's a little off to it. I want to see what Bo Nix does. I kind of want to see what Sean Payton can create. I know it sounds crazy, but I want to see what that is, because Zach Wilson ain't the fucking. Let's be that ain't the future. No. You know what I mean? So like, I want to see what he could do. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of want to see what they can create.
Here's my thing.
If they can.
Yeah, and for Bo, like, I don't know. And when he was at Auburn, he was horrible at Auburn. He only had a good, basically last year was his like
in Oregon.
In Oregon, yeah. So I agree. Sean Payton in that offense could be interesting. They also drafted his wide receiver that was like go to Troy Franklin in Oregon as well. So at least he's got a running mate that he can kind of go with. But I almost wonder, like, if they just that was the last scraps of the table, and if they were just like, well, I guess we're stuck with Bo Nix. Like, I wonder if you were to go in their draft room, I would be surprised if Bo Nix is not the number 5 quarterback on the board, or number 6 quarterback on their board.
Yeah, like you're the fly on the wall. You're like, well, then we're here now.
They're like, cross this guy off. All right, cross that guy off. Maybe we can get. Nope, there goes JJ and Penix. I assume they might have been hyping on Penix too, which is again going back to the conversation about Atlanta. Atlanta might have drafted Penix 8, knowing that he was high on Denver's board and didn't want to take the risk of him not coming back to them in the second round. So they might have just like, screw it. We're just going to take him because we don't want to be stuck with a Bo Nix.
Right. It's like. So, and then I can see that too, because he's got the most time at the helm. He's the oldest coming out of this draft. Yep. And like, he could have been like, you know what, we could throw him in this Denver offense. Like, Payton's like, I could take care of him. He kind of sees things that I can work with. Maybe that's an absolutely great theory. I kind of like that actually a lot.
Yeah, like, I mean, again,
they blocked him. Like, oh, you know what? Let's just snag this.
I think they just didn't have a choice. I think they were just like literally like, hey, we see this guy, we think he's a great talent, and we don't want to be stuck with the last of the scraps, either Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler, which we'll talk about at the end as far as one of the losers. But yeah, that'd be my thought, and I think that's why it surprised everybody of why they picked him when they did it. Penix, that is. It's just like, I think they're just like, fuck you, Denver. This is our guy. I mean, it's crazy that they picked him over JJ, but I guess sitting JJ for 2 years would not have been. I think that would have created a lot of animosity, but you never know. Yeah. All right, so kind of the other things that I threw down here. First defensive player was not taken until pick 15, which I thought was kind of crazy. You talked about the quarterbacks being drafted in round 1, 7 wide receivers, and I didn't look it up if it was I think it was one short of a record if I'm correct. But 7 wide receivers were drafted in round 1, which I thought was insane. Like, we all knew, coming into this, it was the hyped up as to be this amazing draft class. It would be a lot of offensive players. I was surprised that that's actually how it went down. Like a lot of times you hear the hype, like last year, oh my God, 4 quarterbacks can go in the first round, and we had 1. It was like, and then
you're like,
yeah, it was like that was the end of it. It was just like. So
it's lived up to its hype.
Oh no, sorry, 1 was 2 years ago. Sorry, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that was 2 years ago. But I mean, you just never know with the hype. It's fake out season. It's smoke screen season. So to see a lot of it actually come to fruition was actually kind of enjoyable. But it was also like cool. Chalk. When we were like on the podcast live, it was like literally chalk. It was just kind of like almost unexciting, almost like boring, because it was like what everybody been talking about.
Planned. You're like, all right, it's this, okay, this.
And then you hit Penix. Yeah, and then you hit Penix, and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck? Yeah, so it was insane. All right, man. Well, we'll do risers real quick. We'll kind of divide this up. We'll divide and conquer. Why don't you hit the QBs and running backs, and then I'll do the wide receivers. Have you talk a little bit?
Whatever makes you happy,
back and forth. Go ahead.
let's mix it up. All right. So we were talking about JJ, right? This number 10 pick. We can go with rocking with JJ to JJ, like you said, right? Give
Yeah.
it a new mix. I mean, like that's why I'm telling you, man. So that there was all that rumors going in for what the Vikings going to do on this day. Are they going
Right.
to move up? This is like that was a huge conversation piece along with the New York Giants was the other one because like
Yep.
are you sticking with Dimes? Are you not? Like what are you doing? You really don't have many options going on. Like you paid all this money, super injury prone now. What's your move? And then
Yeah.
the day of, I'm like, number 6 the draft. I'm like Malik Neighbors. I'm like, well, that answered everything right there. I said they're not obviously there's no need to
Well,
rush to
especially the
make a
Chargers
move.
didn't trade back. You had Arizona
Yeah,
State put. You had Chargers didn't trade back. They took
yeah,
offensive linemen. They took Joe
they took
Alt.
Joe Alt, which is cool. I get it, and I'm like, all right, so that stayed as planned. And like you said, I'm like, all right, Latham goes, to the Titans, and then Penix was definitely like the big like. I'm like, what the hell? Like it threw
Yeah.
everything
Well, once
off.
that happened, you knew that JJ
Yeah,
was gonna get to the. Yeah,
yeah,
and to kind of tap onto that too, like I think that you kind of hit on it perfectly. I think like there was all this smoke that there's gonna be a lot of trade ups, to 3 to 4 to either get JJ. Could JJ go number 3 instead of
right,
Drake May? Like, what was that conversation going to be? And da 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 da. And then the day of, and then there's obviously a lot of people who mocked, a lot of famous, analysts who mocked JJ making all the way to Minnesota at, I guess at the time would have been 11, ended up being 10. But the fact
correct,
that it actually came to fruition, I think just like that's where I feel like he's a big riser because, and then there's talks of him maybe falling back a little bit, and pre draft process, apparently in the NFL circles and analysts and or prospects and kind of scouts looked at JJ as actually higher up than most of the public did. We didn't think of
right,
him. Everybody kind of talked about him at the very beginning of the process as like a round 2, drafted quarterback, and to go from round 2 potential to all the way in round 1, 10th overall pick. I thought
right.
it's kind of just kind of solidified what they think about him. So I
And
agree with you on that.
and then the one thing I touch on it too, like they were talking about like the Pats, maybe they're not ready and they'll drop down
Oh
and
yeah, that was
grab
another talk
extra
too.
picks.
Yep.
That was major. Like I'm like, all right. And I was thinking that too. I'm like, all right, 3. Is someone going to jump to that spot? And that's where I thought the Giants might went for Drake May because there was big hype on
Yep.
that because he loved the whole coach and all this other crap. And I'm like, as soon as I saw like the 3 spot and they took May and it stayed, I was like, all right, this is literally like when you're doing your draft. It's like, all right, boom, boom, the typical line like you just said.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's why I don't mean to jump off like too crazy, but
No,
that was
no,
where it was, But
but I agree. Like, and that kind of goes into, we'll talk about the next one, just kind of jump off the next
yeah,
rip just for Drake May at pick 3. I mean, to your point, was New England going to trade back? Was somebody else going to trade up? Was it going to be McCarthy going at 3 versus Drake
yes,
May? And initially we hit on this at the very beginning, kind of the surprise is like, or when you asked about the quarterback conversation, like, who the hell was he going to throw to? And then it's like, oh, that sucks. And then all of a sudden they get him 2 legitimate weapons, one in the second round and Jalen Polk out of
yep,
Washington, and then one in the third round of Javon Baker out of UCF, sorry. And they got him 2 legitimate weapons, so then you're like, well, damn, like go Drake May. Like not only did you not fall out of the top 10, your 3rd overall pick when New England could have traded back or somebody else could have traded up, and you beat out, JJ McCarthy as that number 3 quarterback off the board. And on top of that, you got weapons. I mean, fucking props to New England, man, because it's been ages. Bill Belichick on the helm. You'd have never seen a draft like this. It would have been
no,
maybe a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. Let's see if we can make him work. And then it would have been like offensive, defensive specialists. Meaning cornerbacks or offensive linemen or some shit. It would have been 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds. Something stupid. But to see them like actually do something that like helps their franchise and kind of see it come to fruition was actually pretty
for
good.
sure. I liked it. It was enjoyable, bro. And
Oh,
I mean,
man.
now to be honest with you, bro, it's like the fantasy value in New England looks a little different. I think you know what I mean for a lot of things. Even redraft everything, you're gonna start like, okay, like now you don't avoid the Patriots. Maybe not as much. It might be something like, hey, just
No.
hold on to it and throw it in later. You never know. You know what I mean? A couple pieces.
And I think the Polk kind of pick was a little bit of a surprise out of Washington because this year he's looked at as the wide receiver 3 in that offense. But before he got injured, he was the wide receiver 2 in that offense, right behind Rome. So it's like he was up there and then he got injured and then McMillan kind of took over his spot and started to get a lot more recognition and a lot more clout because he was injured for the whole entire season, pretty much. So, so Polk was always like has always had the talent, has always been there. So, I think it's good because again, if you look at where people are drafting him, if you did, a couple of mock drafts prior to the NFL draft, Polk is probably going to be available in the end of the third round, maybe now. Second round, and in the two drafts that I've already done, he's gone in the second round, towards the back end of the second round, but creeping up back into middle of second round. So that's huge. I mean, that's a huge jump.
For sure.
Javon Baker to be round 4 versus round 6 or 7, which is what he was prospected to be, in the NFL draft. To go to round 4 is pretty awesome. So yeah, two killer risers there. Let's hit the running backs, man.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt. You take the first one. I'll take I'll follow
we just can kind of jump around like whoever you. So John, go ahead. You go first.
John Brooks in Carolina, second round. Matt looks great. You were actually saying about it. When healthy, he's definitely going to be the RB1 for sure.
Out of Texas. Well, if he didn't get injured and didn't have that issue,
Correct.
So I just moved around. If he didn't have that issue, he would have been definitely the top, no doubt, prospect coming out from Texas running back. But then tore his ACL, and the talk was how far down was he going to drop. He didn't drop that far down at all. Round 2, he's the first running back off the board. So I think it's pretty crazy.
Number 14 overall is not too shabby, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, 14 in the second round. Yeah, 14.
Yeah, in the second round. That's still pretty good, man.
But yeah, I mean, definitely, and there's really no competition there. Miles Sanders, I mean, he couldn't do shit last year. So if he can come into camp, or even maybe one of those things, or in redraft you have to, or dynasty you have to draft him and know that you might hold him for a year. In redrafts, he's obviously not going to go as high just because injury, and it usually takes him a little while. Plus he's a rookie, so that takes a little while. But I could easily see him being by the second half of his rookie season, I could see him hitting his stride and being somebody who could win you a division or win you the league. So keep it on Jonathan Brooks.
I like the next guy that we're going to talk about. This guy, Trey Benson, man, a speedster, bro. He's a rocket right here, bro.
Yeah,
he's one of 3 backs to run a sub 4.4 in the 40s, bro. He's at 4.39, bro. Monster.
4.39, yeah, that's fucking. And he's not a small back either, so he's got a bigger frame to him.
6 foot, 216 ain't too shabby. I'll tell you that.
No, dude. I mean, 6 foot in general. Some of these running backs are 5'10", 5'9".
Correct.
And to be that tall, and as we were talking before he jumped on, all he's got really in front of him is James Conner.
Yes,
I looked it up.
Dude, Conner's solid, but he's not going to be there forever, dude.
But dude, he'll be 29 in May. He's 28 right now. I think it's early May, so literally in 2 weeks, James Conner's going to be 29 years old. 29-year-old running backs, you know how they last in this league? Not that
well, brother. Yeah.
So
slowly but surely, it's just fade on out, bro.
Yeah. And I think your speedster conversation goes along with this next guy too, man. I mean, this Jalen Wright selected. He's out of Tennessee. Selected to Miami in round 4, dude.
Why are you surprised that they wouldn't take another speedster and that whole Dolphin? Everyone over there is speedy as hell.
That offense is gonna be. I mean, it's already lit, but it's just gonna be fucking nuts, dude.
Dude, he's 5'11", 210. That's a monster too. That's not a small guy, bro.
Yeah. and he's got the weight.
Second fastest 40.
Yep.
That's running backs this year.
Dude,
so
with that size, you just run people over and keep going, dude. And all it takes is
that.
Right now he's obviously behind Achane, and Mustard. But Mustard was injured. He did not look good that last year. Achane got injured towards the end of the year because he's not a bigger back. Going back to your initial conversation about Jalen Wright, Achane's a smaller back, and everybody knew that about him. And he eventually wore down and kind of broke down at the end of the season. So Jalen Wright, man, in best ball, if you're doing the rookie dynasty best ball draft, I definitely highlight Jalen Wright. Take him as early, whenever you feel comfortable taking him. I actually just, in one of the rookie drafts that I'm doing, I took him, and the guy right behind me immediately was like, "What can I give you to take Jalen Wright off your hands?" And I was like, "Nope, I'm good." And I'm like, so it's immediate, dude. He's gonna be in that offense. He could be a fucking crazy scorer. So.
I like this I like the next guy you're gonna tell me too. Another speedster.
Yeah.
Fucking all monsters, bro. Let them know, Matt. Who you
so
got here?
Isaac Guerendo, and I apologize if I'm butchering the last name or spelling. So running back out of San Francisco, or drafted to San Francisco, 4th round. So he's right now, obviously, everybody knows the backfield. You got CMC is leading the backfield. He's probably going to be projected coming into camp as like the third RB in depth. I could easily see him be number 2 in depth by the time camp ends. And again, I mean, not to wish injury on anybody, but CMC, I mean, he's obviously getting older. They don't want him wearing down at the end of the year. They want to win a championship. They're looking for, obviously taking this thing to the finish line. I could easily see him splitting or taking, is it 75-25, 70-30 workload, 30 going to Guerrero. And then if anything happens in CMC, dude wheels up and he's just going to
for sure.
be a beast.
Dude, 6 foot 221, and this dude he has hands, and he's the type of running back like in Louisville. He's gonna run after the ball. He's like that guy. It's gonna get the yards after that for sure,
bro.
He's out.
Well, that's what like Louisville's offense has always been. It's like that, like quick hit 'em, speed, like fast pickup games and kind of just going. So a guy like him coming out of that program tells you that like obviously he's got that quickness and that agility behind him.
And for the pass protection, he's going to be like a big anchor for Purdy too. He'll be able to take.
That's true. Yeah.
Help this gentleman out.
Hell yeah.
Gotta have that, bro.
I'll hit this last one, man. Kamini
sure.
Vidal. So Los Angeles Chargers drafted him in round 6. He could pretty much be the immediate RB1 in this backfield. Obviously Eckler moved on. He's no longer there. Damn
Gus
well.
Edwards?
Gus Edwards is there, but it's like damn well that Hardball is going to want to run the rock. He said that his first draft pick was an offensive lineman, and he said offensive linemen are weapons. So guess who that weapon's going to be blocking for? And again, he may not be right off the rip because he's a rookie, but sure. Harbaugh's going to be running the hell out of the ball. So if you look at Michigan, when Harbaugh was at Michigan, they had 2 running backs that basically split workloads. And kind of like did it a pretty good path. Like obviously Blake Corum was like the number 1 running back, but they split it like 60-40 usually. So yeah, dude, very hyped. I didn't honestly see this guy coming at all. Nobody really that I had listened to kind of like dropped his name or anything like that. He kind of just like popped up and must have been through a good combine in his speed. So he's out of Troy. So he's 5'8", so smaller back as far as stature height wise, 213 pounds out of Troy. So explosive, compact runner. Second most yards rushed in FBS last year, for 1,661 yards. So yeah, this guy is going to be like, you talk about rockets, man. Pretty much I feel like we just got a rocket list that we just kind of rattle through, but 6 rounds. So it's a little bit later, but I mean, again, they don't care. As long as you got the talent, they'll put the ball in your hand and let you run with it. So I could see him being, he's somebody like in rookie drafts that like, definitely keep an eye on, and kind of go from there, man. So anybody else want to add to the list that you kind of saw popping off?
That's the one. I think you nailed the main ones that caught my eye. To be honest with you, I think you nailed that list pretty well.
The other one that I didn't put on here, that I thought was interesting, just because they tend to run quite a bit. So Baltimore drafted Rasheen Ali out of Marshall. So coming out of the Senior Bowl, he was getting a lot of, or East-West Shrine Bowl, I believe. He's getting a lot of hype, Ali out of Marshall, and then had some good measurables. Went in the 5th round to Baltimore. We know that Baltimore likes to run the ball a lot. So he is a bigger frame back. So 5'11", 206 pounds. He did rupture his biceps muscle at the Senior Bowl. So it was the Senior Bowl. So he's a patient runner, but just somebody to kind of like, think about, it wouldn't hurt to pick him up. And if you drop him again, at least you give it a shot. So, Rasheen Ali added another one for you. Why don't you start off the wide receivers, man?
All right. So, was it Ricky Pearsall? Yeah. Out of Florida, 6'1", 189. Nice. Looks like a nice little target, bro. Comparable, they're saying, to Tyler Boyd, my homie. I like to see that. So he's a nice little slot kind of guy, running out, nice short. Like it, dude. He looks solid, bro. He's gonna fit in. I think he'll fit in nice over there. Especially, I did have a lot of questions too with Ayuk. I think that's gonna be another one. I don't even know. There's a lot of rumors. My buddy's a diehard Niners fan, and that they've been shopping him a lot. They're just kind of waiting for the right price. Oh, I guess you could say.
I mean, I think that was another surprise that we didn't even talk about. That neither San Francisco wide receiver got traded. Like, I think everybody's waiting for that shoe to drop, and either one of them, it could be Debo or Ayuk. Either one. obviously Ayuk, I think, was under there definitely shopping the most, but
For
I think
sure,
that they were
yes.
open to both, is what it sounded like. So, yeah, and Parasol, like you said, I mean, so they traded up too, which is I think is a key. So they traded back up to 31st pick, basically to get him Parasol out of Florida. So I got him, and like currently a little bit buried on the depth chart. But if either of those guys gets dealt, he could be the wide receiver to that offense immediately. And
Yeah, he'll fit right in. Perfect right
yeah,
in.
and people call him a slot guy. He's not just a slot guy. He kind of does everything. He's got great hands, amazing hands. So yeah, skyrocket, dude. So why don't you talk about the next boy? You're really excited about this before we even got on. I'll let you kind of take this, and you
I just like it because my wife loves him anyway. But the Chiefs scooping up Xavier Worthy, dude, with the fastest 40, 4.21. Man. I mean, that is insane, bro. Insane,
dude.
Man.
I can't remember. I would probably run like a 5.55 or some stupid shit like that. So
I'm just saying that Mahomes with his accuracy in that arm with those legs and those hands.
Oh, you just gotta say go. You just gotta say go and just like have him run.
He's gonna be like, look, just throw it. I'll get it. Like I'll be there. Don't worry about it. Type. I don't even care if it's a little overthrown. I promise you, I'll be over there.
He's like, you can't. I can guarantee he's gonna be like, you can't overthrow me. So just throw the ball.
Yeah.
Try to overthrow me. See what happens.
Kind of like a Hill coming back, like a little new version, maybe. You see over here, just a little taller though.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he was a fifth wide receiver taken too. So that's a pretty when they had their whole choice of anybody that they could have taken. They took him. So yeah, dude,
the speedster,
dude, wheels up, man. That he's gonna be fucking nuts in that offense. And honestly, they could probably do stuff where they could scheme him the ball just like they did with Tyreek Hill. It's like, do you do and do you do a round? Do you do a little flat screen kind of deal, and then all of a sudden you get blockers in front of him and he's gone. So it'll be interesting, man. What does this mean? What does this mean for? Oh my god, Sky Moore is pretty much dead in that offense. It's kind of insane.
Done.
Done. Yeah, no,
we know people are super high in that gentleman. They're just.
I mean, I'll admit, I was super high on that dude. But coming out of a small school like that, though, it's like you just never know. So,
I'm like, That's how I felt about it. But hey,
yeah, I mean, it was worth
some, bro.
Yeah, it was worth the risk. Rashid Rice, that's what I was blanking. Fucking
Rice is no longer. Rice is too much legal trouble, bro.
Nothing's came out yet, obviously, regarding Rice. How many games?
They're in court.
Well, how many games do you think he'll get? They're not going to do anything probably till like everything goes through court. So like it might not be till the middle. Like how they can drag this shit out in court.
Yeah. So Goodell said he is not saying a word yet for the disciplinary action from the NFL till the legal process is done.
Oh yeah, that's what he always says. No, that's
he's like, once I see that, he's like, I'll wait, and then. But honestly, half a season to a full season, solid, bro. You can't, dude. It's not acceptable what you did. It was on camera. It's beyond blatant. They're gonna make an example out of him. I'm telling you.
I mean, some people were saying 2 to 4 weeks is what I heard some of the analysts saying.
I think it'll be more than that. I'm going over higher, Bob, for sure on that.
All right. So what are you betting? What are you betting? Take your bet on throw a number out there.
I say Bob. 6 and up.
Who's Bob?
Bob Barker, bro. Higher Bob. No, I think
Price is wrong, bitch.
Yeah, no, for him, price is higher now. No, I'll say 6 to 8 games is like. That's okay. Where I could definitely see it at. But
I'll say 6.
But if it goes a year, I wouldn't be surprised, bro. Depending on what he's really charged with, for sure, it could change.
I don't think they'll go a year. There's injuries that are all minor. The fact that he left the scene of the crime. The fact that they let him go like for basically, I think it was like 14 days before they actually told him to like they put an arrest warrant out for him, and like that was weird to me. I mean, it was the car was registered to him.
Dude,
the rental was registered to him. You knew it's his fucking car.
Yeah, he was on video. They know exactly who it was.
Dude.
Like, all right, well,
any other
in a glove box. We're all arrested immediately.
The cops would have been at your house before you even got home. Any other person.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, he lives here. Yeah, go wait for him.
They just would have been sitting there waiting as you're walking down the street with your boys, walking, mind you, because he didn't have a car because he left them all behind.
Yeah, or they Ubered.
Oh, that's true too.
Could have Ubered. Maybe.
Yeah. Could have Ubered. Interesting. All right. All right. Well, I'll have this next guy. We kind of get off the rails for a minute.
Listen, man,
this is my boy. This is my boy, Roma Dunze, man. Pick 9, Chicago Bears. because Atlanta's dumb and they took a fucking quarterbacks and Penix and pass up on Odunze. Dude, you probably haven't seen the videos, but considering that I'm a huge Bears fan, watching the videos, like apparently before the draft, like Caleb Williams basically said that he wanted a Dunze. His whole entire people were basically saying they wanted a Dunze, like get us a Dunze if you can, blah blah blah. And then after that, like I don't know if you heard all this stuff because again, I'm Bears fan, so I listened to it all. But so he was in LA 2 weeks ago, and he was practicing and kind of throwing the football with Ronan Dunze. Also, DJ Moore was there, and then Keenan Allen was there as well. So Keenan Allen lives in LA, so he was there, and then DJ Moore flew in. So randomly, before the draft, the three of them were kind of throwing the football around and working out together. Then you have Odunze and Caleb were on the same flight from LA to Detroit on the same flight together, random. And then literally they get drafted, and like watching some of the videos afterwards, like Caleb like interviewed one of an interview that Remo Odunze was about to do. He jumped in behind the curtain and was like kind of like hyping him up and was being like, with the 9th pick, we select Rome Odunze. And he kind of just was like, I mean, I'm Ram team, but they basically look like best friends, dude. I mean, they're going to be in rookie camp together. They're going to be tied at the hip. Keenan Allen's probably going to be there for a year now. They're probably not going to give him an offer, an extension. So then he can easily be the number 2 next year in Dynasty for that team and could potentially be the number 1 option for Caleb Williams. So in my opinion, Odunze, he was already high, so it's kind of like a whatever. He was already an elite wide receiver, but I think just like seeing the interaction between the two of them, you know, you've got your BFF. It could almost be like what Chase has, you know, and Burrow have in Cincinnati, where it's just like they're just like tied at the hip and that's how they roll. So that's kind of like what I've been seeing and a lot of posts and everything. So, and that dude is an awesome dude. So it'll be interesting. So I'll take my love off for a second and you hit up the next guy,
bro. Lad, how do you say it? McConkey out of Georgia.
Yeah.
You know he's gonna get everything from Herbie, bro. That's gonna be his guy, bro. That's it. Who's he throwing to otherwise?
There's nobody else there.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like this guy's gonna be there, running a 4.39, looking pretty damn good to me, man.
He's like a parasite too. His hands. It's all about the hand. Like he catches fucking everything. I think he's gonna be a PPR machine, dude. To your point, like it's just gonna be nonstop from Herbert. You know, they're gonna do run, play action off the run, and you're gonna have McConkey. He's gonna take Lad's gonna take all of that. So.
I like it, dude. I'm excited to see that one.
Hell yeah.
How about this next gentleman? Yeah. As I say, like, dude, this is just comes in the family tree, bro.
Yeah.
Mr. McCaffrey. This time it's Luke McCaffrey.
The Luke version. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Round 3, going to the commies. And he's gonna have a great new quarterback throwing to him, bro. Mr. Daniels. I think it's gonna be fun to watch, man. Why not?
What?
Have a couple. Yeah, he'll be there. He's definitely gonna get some playing time for sure over there.
Yeah. Well, and he's bigger, so he's bigger than his brother. So the funny thing is, like, he's wide receiver, but he actually was a quarterback when he first started college, and then transitioned to a wide receiver. So, I think he's like 6'1". So, yeah, I mean, he's obviously that family's got a lot of blood. The bloodline's insane. So,
NFL players, dude.
Dude, and what's crazy is like there's projection that he was going to go in like the 6th round, if he was going to get drafted at all. He went in the 3rd round, so
that didn't happen at all.
No, so I mean, yeah, and a loaded wide receiver draft class. So the fact that he got that much accolades is kind of amazing. So I agree.
Oh, and he beat his brother's 40, by the way, by like a split second.
Yeah, I remember it happened. Yeah, I remember it happened.
I was like, what? I mean, that's pretty fucking cool, man. I like that shit.
All right, hit the last one on the list.
Jermaine Burton, bro. Super pumped for this one, man. Going to my Bengals, baby. I like it.
So what have you heard? Because you're obviously tapped into your Bengal Nation. So
well, Higgins is gone. Even if he plays this year, he's gone. Tyler Boyd, I don't even know what's going to happen yet because he hasn't been taken yet. Technically,
no, he hasn't been signed. Yeah,
so I'm saying so. There he is. He's going to be in it. He's in the lineup as of right now. 100%.
Well, he's a wide receiver 3. He could be the wide receiver 2 if T goes.
That's what I'm saying. If T's gone, he bumps up. But right now, he can definitely be the 3rd, like a slot. Throw him where Boyd was. It's an auto fit for Burrow. Like, he fits right in, no problem.
Yeah, and he's got speed too. Like he's again, he didn't really perform as good as he should have his last year, his senior year. But I mean, dude, it's gonna be. When I saw that, I was like, oh damn, like that's a really good pick. He's had a little bit of attitude and off the field stuff, so that's why I think he dropped down as much as he did.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, he's gonna be. When I saw that pick, I was like, oh, that's T's replacement. Like that's the best way to say it.
The Bama boy, bro, fits right. He'll fit in. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
They got
yeah.
Burrow and you got Jamar. They'll check him real quick, bro. They're gonna be like, listen, man, you're with us now. You're gonna follow
Well,
their lead.
and it's gonna be like, hey, you want to win a championship? Stay in line. Don't get out of
And
line,
that's it.
and keep your mouth shut. You know, it's gonna be like they're gonna put the hammer down on him.
Listen, when Joe throws you the ball, you catch it. It's real simple. Don't say anything else. That's it. Don't drop it.
Don't get any penalties. Don't shit talk. So
No, you'll be fine.
All right.
I want to bring one honorable mention that we didn't talk about,
yeah,
and
what
I like the Jets. Malachi Corley.
Corley. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
out of Western Kentucky, dude. I think I like him, dude.
it's a good extra benefit. I mean, he'll basically be the wide receiver too in that offense is what the projection is, and you know, you've got Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball. So I mean,
come on, man. I think he's gonna rack up some. Wilson on one side, he'll be on the other. I mean, there's no one else.
no. And
another-
honestly, the height from Corley was actually was pretty good coming out to Malachi. So, and then to go into that type of offense, I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a perfect honorable mention.
Yeah, man. I think that's gonna be a PPR, a nice ad right there. To be honest with you.
Yep. All right, let's hit the followers real quick. There really wasn't, honestly, like, you know, as we we're going through this before we jumped on, there's really not a lot of like extreme followers. Like the ones that we're going to mention here are just ones where we probably thought that they're going to go in better situations. So like by followers, it's not necessarily like they've fallen completely off, you know, conversation, but definitely came into situations where like maybe they're not the best or the most ideal for them. So kind of why don't we just kind of you kick it off and start, and then we'll kind of just go back and forth. We talked about.
I'll start. The first one. I mean, we can go ad nauseum because he's gonna be here for a while to see what happens anyway. Penix at 8.
Yeah,
we've talked about it multiple times. He's sitting 2 years minimum right now, unless
that's an injury.
he gets hurt.
Yeah,
unless there's an injury, that's pretty much it. Matt, on to the next one.
I mean, there's nothing else to say. We kind of already talked about Penix at the very beginning of the show at the top. So I agree. I think we can kind of jump on to the next guy. And Spencer Rattler. So taking to New Orleans, round 5. I think good value for them in round 5. But usually when you draft a quarterback that late, you're usually not expecting them to be a starter. But I mean, again, like, you know, he's only got Derek Carr in front of him, so anything can happen.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, he was at South Carolina most recently. He's had a wild NCAA career. Was initially at Oklahoma, and then basically like, so when he's at Oklahoma was the first year that Caleb was a freshman. So Caleb went there wanting to beat out, because at the time Spencer Rattler was the projected number 1 overall draft pick coming out of that year. So we're talking 3 years ago now. 3 years. This is how long it's taken Spencer Rattler to get back to where he wanted to be. So for 3 years ago, he was projected to be the number 1 draft pick, Heisman front runner, very beginning of the season. He sucked. Oklahoma sucked. It was so bad that they're playing Texas and they're getting their asses beat so bad. They pulled Rattler and benched him and put in Caleb Williams, and the rest is history. Caleb Williams he did a comeback win from behind, so they beat Texas, an arch rival, and then never relinquished the handle to the team and basically took it over after that. So Rattler's been struggling ever since to kind of make his way and to prove that he's worth a shot.
Right.
So round 5 is probably what you would expect, but I think people are assuming with his last season at South Carolina, he looked pretty good. So they're hoping that his maturity maturity is a big thing with him. They're hoping that like he was taken more seriously, had age and was more mature. But round 5 kind of has me skeptical, so I put him as a faller. It's one of those things where you just never know round 5 quarterback. So so let's jump into running backs, man.
Braylon Allen, Jets 4th round.
This is a head scratcher.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you got Breece Hall, bro, a monster.
Well, then they also drafted another running back late,
Isaiah Davis.
South
Dakota
that guy.
State.
Yeah,
like what? Like, bro, why? Why are you wasting picks on RBs? I mean, you got a solid stud, dude.
Yeah, Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin, he was a beast, dude. I mean, again, like people were talking, analysts were talking about him being the RB, 4 or 5 in rookie drafts, and you're sitting behind Brees Hall for basically the first 2 or 3 years at least.
Solid.
Yeah,
Brees
I
Hall's
mean,
a
he's a
monster,
bigger
dude.
back.
He ain't going nowhere, bro.
No, dude. I mean, unless an injury. Again, a lot of these are injury based, and we don't want to wish injuries on anybody. But yeah, I mean, that was like a head scratcher. I was like, what the fuck? There goes that stock for Braylon Allen.
Yeah, no. And then they draft another one right after it. I've been like,
I know. It's even another
just
slap
take-
in the face, too.
All right.
All right.
Next.
And then you've got this other team that didn't draft anybody in the running back position that needed one. Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah, they just and today was Zeke or yesterday was Zeke. Today was Zeke. That's it.
It's just, I mean, at
That's a
any point
joke.
they could have drafted a
Jerry's
running back.
all in. Remember that he is
all
He
in.
said
All in. We're all in.
What a bro, what a joke.
But we
team
won't
still is,
draft
bro.
any offensive weapons for that situation
Dak.
at all. For Dak.
Or
Thank you. I had
we
Zeke in
won't
my
sign
head.
any free agents either that are of any relevance.
Oh, yeah.
And then Gallup's gone too.
Well, so what do you think is going to happen to Dak? I was listening to a podcast right before we jumped
I
on.
don't know, bro.
They have a conspiracy theory about the whole thing. Now, whether or not this is accurate or not. So they were basically saying Dak's contract this is the last year of his contract.
Yes.
Dak's only done really good with an elite running back behind him. Like that's what's allowed Dak. Like if you look at the years where he's done really good versus the years that he hasn't done good, he's had like good running backs. He has a good back. They currently don't have a good back behind him. They've got to wash up Zeke. So they're just kind of saying like you could see if his performance goes down, meaning Dak's, that could be a reason for Jerry to pay him less, and like to literally be like here. I mean, again, now whether or not, but this is a shady shit that especially that owner, I think would do.
Specifically, you wouldn't pass it. Listen, I wouldn't pass that up. You know what I mean? I would take that and put it in the back of my head. Like, you know what?
Jerry Jones is like, how can I pay you the least amount of money? I don't want to pay you $50 million, or the 100 million guaranteed that Kirk Cousins just got. So like, how do I bring that down a little bit? Think about it. I don't know. Just a thought. All right, let's run through
I like it.
Let's run through the other two.
I like it though.
It makes sense when you think about it. It literally does. You're like, holy fuck, that actually would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, Jerry's cheap as hell, bro. He don't even care.
All the owners are cheap as hell, dude. Come on, man.
I know, but the fact they sell out, he doesn't care. He does not care.
We talked about this on the podcast too when we were doing the live feed. They haven't won a championship in 30 years? It's been 30 fucking years, dude. I think 96 is the last time that they won when they won. 30 years. Like, and they're still holding on to like they still think they're the best franchise. It's like Jerry Jones, you suck, dude. Like, figure it out. Anyways, wide receivers. Let's hit on the last two. You hit the first one. I'll hit the last one.
Johnny Wilson out of Florida State going to the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, great landing spot, but
and they traded with the Jets. That came from the Jets pick, by the way. That was one of their trades.
Oh, I wasn't. I actually was. The last day was the day that I was like least checked in because there was beautiful weather here and I was outside most of it and felt like I'd already spent 2 days like absorbed in the draft and I needed to do something else with my life. Yeah, round 6. What's crazy is that like coming out of Florida State, like he was projected to be like an not elite prospect is not really the right word, a high valued prospect because he's 6'6" apparently. Well, then he goes to the draft and he's 6'3". Which changes. I mean, 3 inches is much different. That's just like your average.
6'6" and 6'3" is kind of a big jump, bro.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you're 6'6", you're a target. You can't miss that guy for 6'6". And 6'3", it's like there's a lot of people who are 6'3" in the NFL. And then his biggest thing is his hands. Mm-hmm. He sucks, drops the ball a lot. He has really bad hands. So yeah, that was I just was surprised to see him go that far down. The other one that I'll kind of do is Adonai Mitchell.
Super hype on him. A lot of people talked about this dude.
So, and everybody's going to be like listening to this and be like, wait, why is that a faller? Well, yeah, he went in round 2, but he was also the 11th wide receiver selected. 11. At one point, he's projected to be like the 6th or 5th wide receiver selected. That like analysts are like, oh my God, he's like the next best one after Brian Mitch or after Brian Thomas. Like he's going to be the next wide receiver drafted. Da 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 da. And the fact that he fell that far from the 6th spot all the way down to 11 and to Indianapolis where, Anthony Richardson, like how much is he going to throw? Like, more and more, when we were on the pod, I kept saying like, why is he falling? Because I actually was very high on Adonai. And they were saying that, like, I guess there's a lot of he's got a lot, same thing. It's a lot of personality. So I don't know if you've seen so if anybody hasn't seen this, Google the GM for Indianapolis. I don't know his name off the top. He basically got a screaming match with like a whole bunch of like, fuck this and this bullshit in backing up and kind of give support toward Anodyne. Because he's getting so much slack as to why he drafted Anodyne because of his immaturity and like how bad of a personality he has. And he went on this like complete rant about like basically just like everybody can fuck off is kind of like where he ended it. It was like insane. You got to watch it if you haven't. So yeah, Anodyne Mitchell just because like, yeah, he's in the second round, but I think everybody projected him to go higher and in that offense. Like we haven't really seen what that offense will be. So that's kind of like why I thought he would be a faller. I don't see him falling great.
I see that.
But instead of the top of the back end of the first, early second, I could see him going to the middle to late second and even third now. So to me, that's a faller. So there's other wide receivers that I'd rather have ahead of him personally. So
yeah, because before he was in the first round, almost all the mocks
back end of the first round. 100%.
100%.
Like I was targeting him in all the mocks that I was doing at like 10, 11, even 9 spot.
I saw that. I saw that a couple times.
Yeah, and I'm just like, once this came, I was like, yep, there he goes. So yeah, man. So
we shall see.
We shall see. Anything else, man, you want to add before we sign off and call it a night?
I want to get into another draft. I want another league, man. I want a fresh one, dude.
Well, we can.
I want it, bro. Let's go, bro. I want another one.
All right, well, we can kick one off.
Competition, bro. I want the elite, more elite. We have elite, but I want even more. So,
all right, we'll work on something and we'll figure it out. So, in the meantime, before you guys all leave, hit the like and subscribe. If you made it through the whole video, it's awesome. Please leave a comment. Things that we could do better. Conversations, starters. Rep your team. Whoever your team is, rep it. Who you think won the draft from a team level. Bengals. The Bears, I don't know, man. It's kind of like, who do you think was the biggest winner in the draft from a team perspective and then also from a player perspective?
Oh, on that note, dude, by the way, the Bengals' first pick, bro, fucking monster. Our offensive line is like...
Oh, they had to. You got to protect Burrow.
I know. It's like 6'8".
That's a franchise right there. If he whenever he's out.
6'8" and like 330. It's like monsters. Do you understand? It's like Orlando. It's like Brown. And I'm like... Who else can you add?
They're all trees. It's just like, let's bring in another tree.
It's a forest, bro.
The question is going to be, is Burrow going to be able to see over him, though? That's going to be the question.
I hope so, too, bro. And I hope his hand holds up or he doesn't lose a toe. I don't know what can happen, bro. Appendix, toe. I deal with everything. I mean,
I think he's just got to make it to the preseason and make it through the whole not rookie camp, but through the whole training camp.
Yeah. I hope, please.
Yeah. Knock on wood. All right, brother. Until next time, we're out. Peace.
Peace.